We're just down at the Japanese pond today, just doing some work on some fish. These are fish that have sort of coming off customers' ponds that have had various problems, whether it be otter predation, problems with cormorants, cat damage. So they've got various bits of damage on either fins or on the body. So what they do is bring these fish down to us. We do a little bit of work then with those and just try and get them healed up and settle down. So we're going to have a look at one particular fish today, a bigger goramo. Pull that out, have a look, see what work needs doing on it and how much damage is on it, and see where we go from there. As well as putting topical treatment on the fish as well, we actually treat the entire pond itself, so we use antibacterial treatments as well as putting a mild salt dose in there, which stops further infection and sort of speeds up the recovery of the fish. We also keep various other fish in here, so we do have two further sturgeon in here. They do a very good job at sort of keeping the bottom clean, kicks all the muck up and sends that all to the filters. So it does help just keep the sort of the conditions of the pond better really for the fish, better environment for the fish as well. Right, so the first thing we need to do first is obviously actually net the fish and catch the fish and take it out. There's three main bits of equipment we use for that. We use a shallow pan net, we use the koi bowl, and we also use a koi sock for safely sort of moving it from bowl to bowl. So we'll be taking that fish out, and we're actually, with us working on the Japanese garden, we're then going to be moving it into the buddy house out of the shade. Especially on a hot sunny day like today, the fish do dry out extremely quickly. So obviously the health of the fish is the priority. So we'll then do the work in there, get the fish then brought back round again, and then we'll return that back into the pond again. Okay with that? So we now move the fish into the buddy house, which is just situated next to the Japanese pond. Obviously it's close by then, so we're not moving the fish too far. Obviously, as we said earlier, we've also brought them into the shade, obviously especially on a sunny day like this, so we don't do any further damage in effect really. And what we're going to do to begin with, we're going to move this fish now into some anaesthetic we've got in a separate bowl here. We use a chemical called 2-phenoxyethanol, and that is all pre-mixed up, ready to go. So that fish will then be popped into there, where it will then start to lose its balance. And once it does start to go, we know then it's anaesthetised, and we can safely move it onto the mat then. So we've now moved the fish into the anaesthetic here, where it will slowly get calmer and calmer. This is now anaesthetising it, so we can do any safe work on the fish without stressing the fish any further.
It's important when we do any work with the fish that we always use damp hands, so we don't damage the fish's obviously body itself. And obviously when we do put the fish onto the mat, it's very important to use a very wet towel and make sure that we cover the eyes of the fish, because that again tends to reduce stress, keeps the fish a lot calmer during the work that we're doing on it. When we do any fish on any work on any anaesthetised fish, the most important thing is always maintain and watch the gill movement on that fish. Obviously, if the gills start to slow down, you do need to sort of monitor that, and if necessary, it does need then removing back into the recovery bowl. So we don't, the fish does not suffer anymore really. The first thing we need to start with is actually to clean the wound down. We need to use cotton buds to wipe any sort of dead scales off, push those off, wipe any infection off. We then apply sort of an antibacterial, like wound cleaner, which will actually sort of kill off any infection, give us a nice clean area to apply our next treatments. Once we've cleaned the wound down with the wound cleaner and we've got a nice clean area to work with, we then sort of dry that off. We then apply a wound sealer over the top of that, which is then followed up by a powder called Orabase, which gives us a final coating over the top. That final coating is then sealed off with some water, which will actually help adhere that Orabase onto the body of the fish and seal it up better. Now that we've done all the work on that fish and we've cleaned up and treated all that wound, we can now sort of put it back into the recovery bowl, which is obviously pond water, which we can then hope get some oxygen into its gills. That'll help flush out the anaesthetic, and within about a few minutes that fish should then recover and be fine to return back to the pond again. You can see here that we've got some of the scales that we've actually taken off the fish. These were some of the dead scales that are obviously important to actually take off the fish, otherwise that could be a site for infection. So removing those has just given us a nice cleaner wound, which should hopefully sort of clear up and heal up a lot easier then.
So we're now going to just move him back over into the pond. We'll hold him upright until he's got enough strength to swim off himself. Okay. Just want to put him just on there. It's not normally do his noise off. Didn't want to be spotted. So now, yeah, popped him back into the pond again. You can see he's now sort of shored up with the rest of the fish. It will take a little while to sort of settle down, but normally we'll just leave him now for the next 2 or 3 days so we don't stress him any further. And we'll probably repeat the same course again, just depending how bad the severity of it is. So now we've got the fish back in the pond after treating the ulceration as well as the top dorsal and the nose. You can see now it does seem to have shored up with the other fish, which seem to offer it a certain degree of support and seem to understand that there's a problem with it. And that fish then will now sort of recover and settle down with the rest of them. We'll follow that up with some more salt doses as well as some more antibacterial in the water. Then monitor it over the next 3 to 4 days and carry out further treatment if necessary.